All right, and without further ado, I'm going to bring out our final speaker. He needs no introduction. He is the founder and CEO of GSV. Please give it up for Michael Moe.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. For those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Michael Moe, founder of GSV. And on behalf of our partners at Arizona State University and my colleagues at GSV, I want to welcome you to the 13th annual ASU GSV Summit. So the title of this summit is Ed on the Edge, and certainly the education industry is on the edge of profound change, and it's quite exciting, but there's more than just education that's on the edge. The internet with Web3 is literally going to the edge of opportunity, and society's on the edge. We were talking about racial inequality or wars, all sorts of things. We're basically at a really precious and important time in terms of what the future is going to look like. So what's really exciting is this event is sold out. So it's great to have this come back. And there's over 5,000 people at the event this year. So a total record. From 67 countries, there's over 800 startups at the event, which is almost double the previous record. It's just a little comparison contrast. When we started this in 2010, we had 300 total attendees at the summit. We had 35 startups that presented. Quick commercial on Arizona State University, we're very proud to be partners with. Many of you know that Arizona State is the largest public university in the United States with 158,000 students. What a lot of you don't know is that for the last 7 years in a row, Arizona State has been ranked the #1 innovation university in the United States, ranked by the U.S. News & World Report. Oh, that deserves a bigger round of applause than that. Okay, we're going to have a good crowd here. So on GSV stands for Global Silicon Valley, and what really that represents is the mindset of innovation and entrepreneurship that's made Silicon Valley such a remarkable place is spreading throughout the world. And so while we have an office in Silicon Valley, we have an office in San Francisco, Chicago, now Dallas, New York, Paris, and we just opened an office in Abu Dhabi. And what we're looking to do is connect Silicon Valley to this emerging global Silicon Valley. If you think about what is really the interest of GSV, what I like to say is that old McDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Well, new McDonald has a startup, E-I-E-I-O. It's about entrepreneurship, innovation, education, impact, and creating equal opportunity for all. That's really what motivates us. This conference is a great representation of those interests that all comes together at this event. Also, GSV Ventures is our investment fund that invests in leading digital learning companies. We've been very fortunate to be able to invest in 15 of the 51 unicorns that exist in the space. The GSV Cup is the largest startup competition in the education technology industry. Over 750 applicants this year. And then on Wednesday night, you all have the opportunity to vote for the winner of the GSV Cup, and the winner gets $1 million. Yeah. So during COVID, we started the GSV Startup Boot Camp, it's run by Anita Rahman, one of our partners, doing a brilliant job with it. We've had 4 cohorts, and we've had 10,000 entrepreneurs that have participated in this free virtual program. We also started the GSV MBA, which is a graduate degree for entrepreneurs that we partner with Belhaven College. And coming next year, we're going to have a GSV Labs in my new home of Dallas, Texas. And somewhere in this audience, I hope, is Mike Hoke, who's my partner with that. And we're very excited about creating what we think is going to be the most compelling innovation center in the world. There's 10 things that I believe. And the first is that we are all God's children. And so things like what we see with racial inequality and sexism and wars are not only something that is stupid, but they're really truly evil. Second thing I believe is to love your neighbor like yourself. Third is to leave the earth better than we found it. Fourth, I believe in the power of growth. And that's for people. You're either getting better, you're getting worse, you don't stay the same. As for companies, you're growing or you're dying. That's true for countries. Fifth thing I believe is you can get everything you want in life that you want. You can get everything in life you want if you can help enough people get what they want. And that's a core philosophy that we think of as we partner with entrepreneurs and with other partners that we have within our ecosystem. The number six thing that I believe is that education is truly life's original accelerator. And that is what gives people opportunity to participate in the future. Number seven is that better, faster, cheaper wins. Or as Damon Runyon said, the race is not always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but that's the way to bet. Number eight is that people were born free, free speech, the freedom to pursue your passions and opportunities. Number nine, the most powerful country in the world is imagination. Or, as Victor Hugo said, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And the 10th thing I believe is that teachers change lives. When I get the opportunity to talk, So when I get the opportunity to talk to people and ask them what was the biggest influence in what they were doing today, it almost always comes back some teacher that there was in their life or some coach. For me personally, besides my dad, the two people that have influenced me the most were coaches. I had the privilege of playing for Coach Lou Holtz at the University of Minnesota, who is not only an amazing football coach, but really taught how life lessons and how to be successful. And I use a lot of those lessons this day. So we were fortunate to honor him with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. But these principles have stuck with me, nearly 40 years later. When you're building a team, the first thing you ask, can I trust you? Second, do you care about me? Third, are you committed to excellence? And those are the three things. And so you think that you apply that over and over and over again, and that's what a coach does. It teaches you these fundamentals. 3 rules to live by. Do what's right. Do everything to the best of your ability. Show people you care. And so the second coach that was incredibly influential to me was Bill Campbell, who they called the coach of Silicon Valley. Sadly, he died 6 years ago on the first day of our conference. I think about Bill every day. They called him the $1 trillion coach. And they called him the $1 trillion coach because he was the coach for Steve Jobs, Eric Schmidt, who wrote the book, for Jeff Bezos, and many, many, many others. We were fortunate to have him on our board, and just a truly remarkable person. And he spoke at the summit and was a great partner of ours for many, many years. There was 10 principles that Bill Campbell stood for. First is, your title makes you a manager, but your people make you the leader. And what that meant was your business card could say CEO, but you're not the leader unless you earn that from the people that work with you. Secondly, your job is the success and the well-being of people. And that kind of gets back to this principle, you get everything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. Third principle is best ideas win, not consensus. Being a leader doesn't mean you're taking a poll. It means that you got to choose the best idea and execute against it. The fourth is that innovation is where crazy people have stature. And if you look at the creation... Yeah, I always used to say I was a Martian, I just got to find Mars. But number 5 is you build an envelope of trust. Believe in people more than they believe in themselves. And that's what leaders do. That's what coaches do. Coaches have you see the potential and what you can become. Number 6, listen intently, don't multitask. So all you people that got your phone out checking the basketball score right now, I see you. But Coach Campbell, I'll never forget, he came back from a board meeting, and he was with a very famous venture capitalist, and this entrepreneur was fighting for his life. And Bill talked about this venture capitalist who basically spent his whole time on his phone texting people, and he basically wanted to jump across the table and strangle him because this entrepreneur had bet everything on red. He's struggling for his life and is not getting the courtesy or the respect of getting the full attention. Now, be an evangelist for courage. That's what leaders do. Leaders encourage you to take risk, leaders encourage you to do bold actions. When you have the facts, use facts. When you have opinions, Bill used to say, use mine. Number 9, when you're building a team, it's a combination. You got to have both hearts and smarts. You can't have just one. You got to have both, and those people got to put team first. And number 10, kind of bringing this all together, is to love people. When you love people, everything else sort of falls into place. We said from day one with the ASU GSV Summit is that our North Star is to ensure that everybody has an equal opportunity to participate in the future, the foundation of which is access to quality education and knowledge. And when you look at how big a deal that is, what an unbelievable issue that is for society, it's enormous. So consider, you got nearly 10% of the world's population that's illiterate. Knowledge economy, you got 93% of adults that don't have higher education. And today, 2/3 of all jobs being created require college education. In the United States, only 1/3 of all workers have a degree. The SAT test, which is the ticket to get opportunities to the most prestigious schools. What SAT scores show is that it's directly correlated with how wealthy your family is. So in other words, what the SAT does the best job of predicting is how wealthy your family is, which is obviously fundamentally not fair. When you look at the most competitive schools, 75% of the students come from the top quartile household incomes. And when you look at overall, if you come from a bottom quartile household, you have an 8% probability of graduating from any college. Looking at poverty across the United States, in 2000, there were 4 states where 50% or more of the students came from households that were in a poverty level, which is absolutely remarkable when you think about it, that in the United States, this incredibly wealthy country, you'd actually have 4 states where half the kids or more were poor. Well, today, it's 20 states, and that issue is only getting worse, obviously. And what are the implications of that? So if you're in a poor family, you have a 52% probability you're going into kindergarten not being prepared for kindergarten. So you start behind. Often you never catch up. In fact, what really often happens is you drop out. And so if you're from a low-income family, you're 5 times more likely to drop out of high school. You're 8 times more likely to go to prison. In fact, 80% of the prison population is made up of high school dropouts. Another thing we need to do is we need to make prisons prep schools. So if you're getting so people that are incarcerated and just put them back out, we need to give them the training and the skills so they can participate in the future when they go out and be productive members of society. So on the good news front, we've hit a record of 84% graduation rates from high school. And so that sounds pretty good, but if the airline industry used that same measure for the success of getting to the destination, there wouldn't be an airline industry. And a really simple way that I think of just kind of what the dynamics of this world are is, and you think about what it means if you don't have a high school degree or a college degree. Well, there's 4 million kindergarten students going into school next year. Of those, 3 will make it out. 2 of them will go to college, and 1 will graduate from college. Slightly better than that, but that's just a really easy way to think about kind of the dominoes of what's happening here. So you add this all up, and what that basically says is that if you're born poor, you have a 70% chance of remaining poor, which is fundamentally a direct contrast to what we think of as the American dream and what we all think is the opportunity for us. So it's just fundamentally unfair that your future is determined by how well you selected your parents. We all know that that's just a rotten deal. So as President Zelensky said, I need ammunition, not a lift. And so as we think about this issue of what we need to do is how do we get ammunition to teachers, schools, parents, kids, so they can participate in the future. The good news is, in this conference, it represents a lot of these type of people. We now have companies that are producing what we call weapons of mass instruction, reaching tens of millions of students with high-quality, low-cost product. And it's extremely exciting to see the innovation and the entrepreneurship that's taking place, in this world. And complementing that, of course, is capital. So when you look at an EdTech VC funding in 2010, it was $500 million, which when we started the conference, we thought that was absolutely amazing because that was just a huge number in contrast to what had happened previously. In fact, since the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, there hadn't been $500 million raised in total in the EdTech market. So that was a big deal. Well, that's grown to, in 2019, $7 billion in the education tech VC funding, with 37% CAGR. Then over the last couple of years, it's just exploded. So in 2021, almost $21 billion was invested in the EdTech companies. Yeah, you can applaud that. That's pretty cool. And then you're seeing is financial capital and human capital is pretty fluid. It goes where opportunity is. And you see the number of EdTech investments that's happened in the last 11 years. It's gone from 148 in 2010 to over 1,500 last year. The number of unicorns that existed in 2010 was 0. 2019 it had grown to 11. And now there's 51 unicorns in the EdTech space, which is incredible. Looking at geographically where funds are going, and this gets into the global Silicon Valley concept. In 2010, 75% of all the venture capital was invested in U.S. EdTech companies, and 25% was invested in the rest of the world, which effectively was China. Last year, 60% of the venture capital in EdTech was outside of the United States, with 40% being in the United States, and very little of that was China. Looking at IPO funding, which is all this, I'm going to talk about basically legs because you start with the early stage investments and they kind of grow. But EdTech IPOs in 2010 was two of them, and they raised $236 million. That has grown to last year 9 IPOs and $3 billion. Looking at the public market EdTech landscape, in 2010 it was $46 billion. Last year it grew to $155 billion. So you keep on seeing this significant growth. And as a way to, I think about the future and where we're going. So when you look at education versus healthcare, they're basically the same size in terms of the industry. Healthcare is $7.8 trillion, education is $7.5 trillion. But as you get into the publicly traded companies and market caps, healthcare is significantly larger, $6.6 trillion versus $155 billion in EdTech. So and when you look at, so basically you have essentially the same amount of market cap as the market size in healthcare, and education is a fraction of that. But a window to the future, you look what's going on. So in healthcare, there's 200 plus sector funds. There's 8 in education technology. VC funding we talked about in 2010 versus 7.4 billion for healthcare, 500 million for education technology in 2010. But now just this rapid catch-up that's taking place with $20 billion last year and 51 unicorns in education versus 76 in healthcare. So if you want to see the future, you're going to see that compression, this catch-up of $155 billion to that $7.5 trillion number. I think that's pretty clear. Also, when you look at the platforms or the opportunities of how you're going to see this explosive growth, basically the digital and technology tracks have been laid over the past 25 years that allows us rapid growth. In 2010, there was just 1.9 billion people on the internet. Today, there's 5.3 billion. App downloads was 8 billion in 2010, 230 billion today. Mobile subscribers is up 20x. And hours of video uploaded per minute has gone from 12 to 600. Looking at Uber, basically was just a startup in 2010, essentially 0 rides. Last year, 6.3 billion rides. TikTok didn't exist in 2010, over 1 billion users. Snapchat didn't exist in 2010 either, 319 million daily active users. And maybe Elon Musk will invest in that next, we'll see. So 25 years ago, I wrote a white paper called The Dawn of the Age of Knowledge. And in that, we forecast the emergence of the knowledge economy, how the internet was going to change everything, and how education was really going to be at the center of the knowledge economy. You fast forward and see and what's happened. In the knowledge economy and the global marketplace, what you know, your education makes a difference not only for an individual, but for a company, and for that matter, a country. And you see this direct correlation between the level of education you have and your income. Looking at higher ed as a growth market, in 1900, there was a total of 500,000 higher ed students in the world. By 2010, that grew to 160 million. Today, there's 207 million. And it's going to double by 2030 to 414 million. In the knowledge economy, lifelong learning is a reality, so you're no longer going to fill up your knowledge tank to age 25 and drive off through life. You're going to continually need to be replenishing what you know to participate in the future. And you look at the size of this market, as I referenced earlier, education is a $7.5 trillion market today, going to be $10 trillion by 2026. When you look at the digital learning component of it, it's $160 billion in 2019. So that's about 2% of that overall $7.5 trillion overall spend. And what we expected was that to grow to be 10% of the overall market to reach $1 trillion by 2034. That's what we expected in 2019. So 15 years to get there. Obviously, in March of 2020, the world changed, got flipped upside down. And you had 1.6 billion students that were instantly put online. And essentially that's 20% of the world's population that was thrown in the deep end of the online learning pool and told to sink or swim. Some sank, some crawled to the edge of the pool, got out, so they're never going back in. But many flailed around a bit, got the hang of it, and we're never going to go back to the way things were. The genie is absolutely out of the bottle. There's no going back. And what we've seen, we think it's so dramatic that we had BC before Corona, and now we're going into AD after the disease. And the shift is transformative. Effectively, the future has accelerated to the present. And so what we thought was going to take 15 years, we now think takes 8 years to get to $1 trillion. And by 2027, this is achieved. Put a little perspective on that. In the next 5 years, to reach $1 trillion, there's going to be over $800 billion of opportunity created in the ed tech space. And there's a number of weapons of mass destruction companies that are rapidly growing their value and their opportunity. And we call this the race to 100 billion, and we expect there to be many more that are going to be participating in this race. So I'm going to give you guys a pop quiz, okay? So I need you all paying attention. That includes you guys. Here we go. So tell me which of these schools doesn't belong. Harvard, Brown, Dartmouth, Rutgers, Columbia, Princeton, Penn, Cornell, and Yale. On the count of three, I want you to say it. Ready? 1. Ready? It'd be 1, 2, 3. Then you can. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Anyway, my answer would be Cornell, and the reason being, so a traditional answer might be, you say, well, Rutgers is an Ivy League school, but actually Cornell was started in 1869 by Eli Cornell in Ithaca, New York. All the rest were started before the Revolutionary War. So said a different way, you can't think of another industry that exists in the world where the leaders 300 years ago were the leaders today. And so as we look at the future, you can't use an old map in a new world. And so as we think about what does that mean for creating this new map, obviously going forward, reading, writing, and arithmetic are going to be foundational, but they're complemented by what I call the 7 C's. And the 7 C's are the skills and the things that students need to have deep competence in to be successful and to participate in the future. Critical thinking, creativity, communication. By the way, if you didn't see Roger Love's presentation today, you see that on video. It was incredible. Cultural fluency, civic engagement, collaboration, teamwork, and character. Also thinking about this new map, this new world we're going into. In the old world, elite equaled scarce. In the new world, elite equals excellence. In the new world, we get this clap. We get this thing going a little bit. We can clap to all this. So cost equaled quality in that old map. In the new map, it's really outcomes equals quality. In the new map, the calendar, the old map, calendar equaled progression. In the new world, mastery equals progression. Yeah, we can clap all these. I mean, might as well have some fun here, right? In the old map, school equaled job options. The more prestigious the school, the more the job options you have. The new world, it's going to be about competence equals job options. Race and gender equaled opportunity in the old world. The new world, it's all about content of character. Also, as we think about this forward new world, the last 55 years, Moore's Law has not only transformed technology, but really transformed society in terms of what Moore's Law did, which Gordon Moore, who postulated 55 years ago that computing power was going to double every couple of years, was actually correct. But you might have seen recently where Pat Gelsinger, who's the CEO of Intel, said that Moore's Law is going to continue at least another 10 years. And so we'll think about what that means in terms of the opportunities in education technology and in society. So most of that, I think, is really, really positive. Some of that is going to create some challenges. One of those challenges, already we're in a world of infobesity, where there's too much information coming at us. And so how do you process this infobesity? How do you create clear signals, in this world that is extraordinarily busy? I'm going to ask you to participate in this too. So look at this very busy graph. And within it, there are some dots. And what I'd like you to do quickly to kind of count how many dots you see and shout it out. You guys, this is the most interesting audience I've ever seen. So if you really saw 12, there is 12. But most people will see 3 or 4. You guys are amazing. But the point is that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to identify clear dots within this very crowded mess. Or as Bob Dylan said, some people feel the rain, others just get wet. So here's connecting the dots that we're trying to accomplish. Here's some dots. 5G. 60% of all college students today are women. So in a knowledge economy, you want to see what the future looks like? Women will be running the world. Storage costs are down 99%. Climate change. Mission corporations. 5.3 billion internet users. MENA is a world hub. Dubai is the busiest airport in the world today. 53% of the workforce is to be reskilled. 300 million users of Zoom today. ESG is a mega trend in terms of capital that's going to support companies that have those values. V-chips is a geographic trend, which is Vietnam, China, India, Indonesia, Philippines, and Singapore. Sustainability, 230 billion apps downloaded last year. Skills, 6.3 billion smartphones, AR, VR. Computing power up 400%. The global Silicon Valley. 5 of the 10 fastest growing countries in the world last year were in Africa. You have AI, 3.4 billion gamers worldwide, autonomous everything. Peer-to-peer, impact, weapons of mass destruction, $165 million spent every single day on gaming, 773 million illiterates in the world, 24 hours are spent a month on TikTok by those billion plus users. English has become the world language. 7% of the world are knowledge workers. 41% of Africans are under the age of 15. College students doubling by 2030, broken China. All these are dots. And so what we're trying to do is connect these dots and to create messaging from it. And so as we do one last exercise, if you have a piece of paper in front of you, create 9 dots. And then take a pen. You can do this real quick. I'm watching you, Joy. And try to connect these 9 dots without lifting your pen off the paper. And so if you do this, well, you'll find it's very difficult unless you start thinking outside the box or outside of boundaries. So the way that you accomplish this is just like this, then down past the dot, up and over, then across. So as Steve Jobs said, you got to think differently. And just a quick couple examples of thinking differently. So when the iPhone was created in 2007, it wasn't the first smartphone and it wasn't the first app store. But when they put it together, it was like peanut butter and jelly creating magic. And so when Apple launched this, BlackBerry and Apple had the same exact market cap of $70 billion. Obviously, the iPhone has become the most commercially successful product in the history of the world. And today, Apple's market cap is $2.9 trillion versus BlackBerry's $4.3 billion. Take a close look at this picture. This is St. Peter's Square at the Vatican in 2005. You got it? Here's what it looks like today. So what's changed during the last 17 years? Well, obviously, everybody's become a photographer. And so what's amazing, in the world where digital photography has exploded, Kodak, which is synonymous with photographs, and actually had the patent on digital photography, went bankrupt. So as we go Ed on the Edge, we're very excited about the connecting the dots and these themes that were being created that you'll be able to see over the next couple days. The metaverse, with Web3 is an explosive opportunity that we're very, very excited about. We think it's going to be transformational in education. We also have the inventor of the NFTs, Eric Poulier, who's going to be with us over the next couple of days on a Wednesday session. Here's just a quick video on his company, Battle.
You wanna stay and see my dark side, dark side, dark side. Follow me and I'll show you a good time, good time, good time. I bet you wanna stay and see my dark side, dark side, dark side. Follow me and I'll show you a good time, I'll show you a good time.
So clearly, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Autonomous learning as a major theme, where in the old world, it was just-in-case learning. You learn something just in case somehow, some way you need to use it. The new world we're in is just-in-time learning, where learning is embedded in your natural workflow. ILE is a great example of an autonomous learning company. XR, the combination of VR and augmented reality. You saw Dreamscape here today, which is just creating incredible results with Arizona State and very exciting technology in terms of how people are going to learn. Education as a benefit. 30 years ago, if you were a top company, one of the key things that you did was you had a great healthcare program because it was that helped attract and retain great people. Today, education as a benefit is a core component for how you attract, retain, and obtain talent. In fact, I see my friend Marguerite Kondraki in the front was a leader in that whole education as a benefit movement with the Corporate Family Solutions and Bright Horizons. Holly, we'll give her a hand, yes. And a former Lifetime Achievement Award winner as well. So Hollywood meets Harvard is a key theme of ours. What Hollywood does an amazing job with is, if you can't learn if you're not engaged. So Hollywood does a great job of telling stories, of creating stars out of actors, of having high quality, low cost through scale. Here's an example of a mini Hollywood meets Harvard type of idea on TikTok that just found.
Education, innovation, man's creation, multiplication. Your eyes make 3 different types of tears. Snails can sleep for up to 3 years. Cows can dream if they're off their legs. Alfred Hitchcock was afraid of eggs. There are literal mites on your cheek. Cleopatra was actually Greek. While you watch this, love it or hate it, 50,000 of your cells just replicate it.
Invisible learning without even recognizing that's what you're doing. Games is a great example of how people are going to be learning in the future, for sure. Knowledge is a currency where the degree is not replaced, but augmented by different ways that people are able to represent their capabilities, their knowledge, what skills they are, and what type of opportunities should be provided to them. News to knowledge, this continuum of short-form education, could be a news article, longer, a podcast, a conference like what you're at, or a course where you're not even going to get credit, all the way to degrees and graduate degrees. RoboEd, integrating artificial intelligence to create personalized learning every click. becoming more tailored for you, accelerating where you're advanced, regressing where you're not, and again, back to learning the best way you do. The last theme, higher ed, H-I-R-E, ed. Historically, the silos between education and working, and there's going to be integrated, you're going to be learning to earn. So just wrapping up, the last thing I'd like to talk about is on the edge is society, which is really a fracture point in breaking. And one core piece of that is what's happened basically with the economy and the future of work, where it's clear that younger people, millennials, Gen Z, really doesn't have confidence in the old capitalist system. In fact, more feel that is not working than is working. And it's not because they're not educated, it's because what they've experienced is seeing a broken system. So in 1776, Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. And in Wealth of Nations, he talked about this invisible hand, which if you got your economic incentives aligned with objectives, this invisible hand guided things kind of almost magically to accomplish the objectives that we were looking for. Also in 1776, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and in this, he talked about everybody had the inalienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In 1789, in George Washington's inaugural address, he talked about a different type of invisible hand, and that was one of providence, that people were really motivated by having purpose and meaning with their life. And so clearly Adam Smith's invisible hand is broken. We think it's George Washington's invisible hand that's going to fix it. And so we wrote a book with my friend Michael Carter last spring called The Mission Corporation, which really talks about this contemporary capitalism. My friend Howard Schultz said every entrepreneur and business owner should read this important book, so take Howard's word, make sure you do that. But what this really talks about is you create meaning through learning, you create purpose through work. And when we look at the greatest businesses of tomorrow, we believe that they're going to have the ambition of a for-profit and the heart of a not-for-profit, combining purpose and profit. In fact, we think it's such a big deal that for many years we had the 4 Ps we looked for a company that we look to invest in. We added a 5th P recently, which is purpose. So we have people, product, potential, predictability, and purpose, because great businesses need to have purpose in what they're doing, or they're not going to thrive and accomplish their potential. So we talk about how complex this goal of ours is for everybody to have an equal opportunity to participate in the future. And there's no silver bullet, but I actually do think there's a silver bullet. And that silver bullet is back to what we talked about before, it's love. If we love our neighbors ourselves, if we truly have this passion to make a difference and to help people that aren't necessarily just our family, but really help society participate in the future and have a purposeful life, we think that can be accomplished. We created a vaccine in less than 12 months. I got to believe that the people, particularly in this room, organized together with a purpose, can make it happen. As we align our objectives at GSV, we believe very passionately, we're not focused on how much money a company can make. We look and see what kind of impact a company can have. What's the return on education? Because the companies that have the greatest return on education are ultimately going to have the highest return on investment. And so just... So in wrapping up, I was just thinking about how this all comes together. And a little film clip spoke to me, and hopefully it will speak to you as well. And then I just got one last thing. So here we go.
It's Hebrew from the Talmud. It says, whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
could have got more. I don't know if I just... I could have got more.
Oscar, there are 1,100 people who are alive because of you. Look at them.
If I'd made more money... I threw away so much money. You have no idea. If I just...
There will be generations because of what you did.
I didn't do enough.
You did so much.
This car. Good, what about this car? Why did I keep the car? 10 people right there. 10 people. 10 more people. This pin. 2 people. This is gold. 2 more people. You would have given me 2 for it. At least 1. You would have given me 1. 1 more. 1 more person. Person, Stan. For this. I could have got 1 more person. And I didn't. I didn't.
Mark Twain said, the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And we believe that. And we believe that we know what our purpose is and what we're trying to accomplish. And just promise in closing, I'm just going to read a poem called The Dash by Linda Ellis. It goes, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted the first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try to understand the way that others feel. And be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering the special dash might just only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? Make your dash count. Have a great conference. Love being here. Thank you.